I felt so fucking numb. And I also knew that this was what I needed to move through. You know, it was already a big deal for me to actually go to a retreat like that. So I thought, okay, like what would this look like if I walked this path, you know, 1 year later, 3, 5, 10 years later, maybe I can get to that place where I can feel pleasure in that way. Like I wanted it so bad, not just because of some superficial surface level, like orgasm thing, but really because I knew that that would represent me unlocking my fullest potential. Welcome, witches, to the Radiance Unleashed and Unapologetic podcast, your permission slip to embody your primal, raw, unapologetic nature around who you are as an empress, queen, a witch, and a medicine woman, creatrix. My name is Saber. I am an esoteric global business mentor supporting women all around the world to align with their cyclical nature and how they're doing, being, and receiving in life and legacy. If you love what you receive in these transmissions in this show, please make sure to follow and leave a review. Make sure you share with a fellow witch and a sister. I am so honored that you're here to receive, enjoy, and blessings on your journey.
Put me on the altar 'cause you can't be tamed. Silence underneath your flame. Cut the cords around me as I speak your name. It's never gonna be the same. Even though I loved you, it was all in vain. And now I gotta break away. Put me in the water, tell me I'm renamed. Higher self-reclaim.
Hello, beautiful witches. I find it so fascinating how much I piddled around and resisted creating this episode because I just know it's going to be really deep and really vulnerable. But hey, that's exactly why I made this Radiance Unleashed and Unapologetic podcast. It was really more of an initiation for me to really dive into these taboo aspects of myself that I have kept to myself and I know will be absolutely transformational for women and men all around the world, especially in aspects of magic, money, and sexuality. So today I wanted to share about my journey of sexual healing, where that started, why I dove into it, what called me, and the realms that I've really dove in. Because to be honest, I've dove everywhere from like co-ed sexual healing retreats with dancing with snakes to Libertine clubs to Tantra events to orgy domes at Burning Man to BDSM, all kind, like a huge scope, Yoni massages. And so today I wanted to really debunk a few of them and really share some of my personal transformations with them so you can really understand these taboo teachings or cultures or concepts or philosophies that have a lot of stigma and people carry a lot of fear and anxiety and assumptions around them that I personally wish that they were just normal things. You know, when we grew up, all we were taught in sexual education was how to not get pregnant. It's basically it. We didn't learn anything about the deep sexual alchemy that can happen within the masculine and within the feminine, both within our respective gender bodies, but then also the feminine and masculine within ourselves. And you know, most people in the world, I don't have stats in front of me or anything like this, but I would say a big portion of the world has experienced some sort of sexual trauma, you know, whether that is something that happened to them when they were little or even religious conditioning or Obviously, conditioning from the media, I can say it's safe to say everybody has experienced suppression in regards to those aspects too. And I just, for me, you know, I grew up with a single mom that she told me she was asexual, okay, that we didn't need any man. And she even had this woman in her life at one point. Anyway, she had one partner the whole time that she was in my life. She took her life, for those of you who don't know my story yet, she took her life 15 years ago, at the time of this recording anyway, when I was 15. And, you know, this big path of healing that I've gone on really has been birthed and stemmed because of all of the pieces of my mother that I watched her never reclaim, in the way that she owned and loved her body, her sensuality, her creativity, her magic, her power in essence. And so growing up, I honestly didn't have that masculine figure around. I had a hyper independent mother who was really trying to juggle everything on her own. And I actually got into my first relationship when I was 12 years old, when I got into foster care, because being at home was quite chaotic. We had a lot of abuse, a lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil going on in my relationship with my mother. It was just her and I. And it was really challenging for her to balance everything with no healing, not the right community and support around us. So when I landed in foster care when I was 12 years old, I met this man on MySpace. Well, he was a boy, I guess, at the time. He was actually 17 and I was 12 years old. Okay, this was borderline. Wasn't going to be legal. But I had actually lied to my foster mother because first of all, this guy lived very close to my mom. And when I was in foster care, I had a court-ordered restraining order that I couldn't see my mom. And immediately at 12 years old, I had met this guy on MySpace. So we took each other's virginity. We were each other's first relationship situation. It had gone on for a whole year and a half. And that relationship really planted seeds in me of finding security from something outside of myself, but into a relationship, right? And, you know, ever since then, I had gone into serial monogamy, is what I call it. I had left that person when I was maybe almost 14 years old, and I had just immediately kind of swimmed into whatever different energies that I could. And actually, when I was 14, I had ran away from foster care, and I had some really intense things happen to me. I won't get into it in this podcast, but in essence, I was already sexually active. There was a couple men that I was engaging with that there were, substances and alcohol involved, and I wasn't fully in my body at all. I wasn't even fully present at all. And there were some things that happened that were really, really dark. And it actually created a lot of distortion in my sexuality, because then here I was, young, being a teenager, bouncing around to these relationships that were always over a year, 2 years, something like this, because I created so much security around having a partner, because I really didn't have any security growing up. Yeah, so in this distortion where there were substances involved and, my participation, but also looking back, I know that there was nothing that was my fault. I've gotten closure on the fact that I am not responsible for my actions, because I was freaking 14, but I had to carry a lot of guilt and confusion around, was I the person that did that with my seduction or my, sexual energy? So there was just a lot of guilt and shame around my sexuality, essentially, and a lot of confusion. And I kind of held tightly to these relationships that eventually I ended up getting with my last long-term partner. It was 5 years, and we dove into this sexual healing together, and I'm forever grateful, because what we found was we really knew that there was something really special. It wasn't just a boyfriend, it was like a partner, my first partner, where we ended up eating psychedelics together in ceremony. We started our entrepreneurship journey together. We ended up traveling. We lived in a vehicle together for traveling in the bus that I was in for probably, I feel like, at least over a year. We went deep. So of course there's glass ceilings when you have trauma and these blocks that prevent you from really opening up your heart and receiving and accepting and going that depth with someone when the opportunity is there. Yeah, so I really knew that sexual healing was like this sexual trauma I knew I needed to deal with. I had gone to therapy, I've done EMDR, I've done like my therapist, actually, that I was in foster care, she introduced me to so much, like mindfulness meditations, astrology, tarot, timeline therapy. She did do EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. That is super powerful for really deep trauma, because I actually had super strong PTSD. I can't even find my words to talk about this because it's quite complex, but I had these flashbacks that I couldn't even make love and have sex without these flashbacks coming to me, and it was really intense. So obviously, being in this long-term relationship, I was like, okay, I really need to heal this and really move through this. And that is when I actually met this woman. I love this woman. Her name is Rosa Maru. Shout out to her if she ever listens to this podcast. She was actually going by the name Amrita at the time. And Amrita actually is the Sanskrit name for a woman's G-spot squirt, which it translates to the nectar of the gods. Okay, so this woman was embodying this name. I met her when she had all these snakes on her, this giant snake, and she was holding it at this show that I had went to where there was burlesque dancers, and I was just at this precipice in my life where I was just starting to get into performing arts. I did not grow up dancing or anything like this, but I was starting to go on this journey of body positivity, self-empowerment, really freeing myself and my expression. And I was fresh in this burlesque troupe that I somehow manifested the opportunity to be a part without any dance experience. And so I was at this show and I saw her, and I was so fucking intimidated. I was so intimidated. And there was one moment that I saw her at another space, and she actually introduced me to the medicine of rapé. And it was really beautiful because she had seen me when my energy was just leaking all over the place. And she had come up to me and showed me this power mudra where she, if you can see in my video, if you're watching this on YouTube or on the video form, it's the palms out like a full stop no. One facing up, fingertips facing up, and one fingertips facing down with your palms facing forward at this really flat, strong no posture. And she was teaching me how to really breathe in that. And it was so powerful because I had realized there was something going on at this community house that I was at, a hippie community house. And there was actually another man that was staying on the property who was on substances that really was reminding and reflecting to me the trauma that had happened to me when I was 12 years old. When I was 14 years old. That I had a lot of confusion and sexual shame around. And so this was showing up in my life again for it to clear. And my God, that was when I met her, and it was such a mirror because I had also simultaneously been having these dreams about snakes. Okay? So like she came up in one of my dreams, and in all of my dreams about these snakes, I wish I would have wrote them down because I don't remember them consecutively, but there was something about the colors of the snakes And I was on this quest to like conquer them or kill them, and they were going to be, I personally feel that they represented like the chakras within the kundalini, and there's each part that we reclaim, right? Like the root of our sense of security and groundedness, and the orange being the sexuality and that sacred creativity energy, the yellow being in our power, and there was a black one at one point actually where I was like, I pulled it off of the back of this lover that I was making love with in this dream and killed it. And it was like, it felt like it was this Lilith energy that was activating in me. Anyway, all of these mirrors of serpents and sexual trauma arising. And then I meet this woman who to me symbolized working with serpents and embodying this name Amrita. She to me embodied this representation of this raw, primordial, unapologetic woman in her power, in her sexual power. And I was scared shitless. Long story short, we ended up becoming friends, and she had a sexual healing retreat that was happening. And I had explored very lightly some Tantra exercises with my partner at the time, just essences of eye gazing and learning how to just be honest with each other and breathing together, syncing our breaths together, these kinds of things. But I still had so many walls and such a shell around me that I didn't really ever feel like I could fully surrender or let go. I had a hard time ever having an orgasm around him. I was having a hard time being aroused. I was having a hard time making money. I was having a hard time. It's like I knew how to make money, but it really, really came from such grind and exhaustion. And I knew after studying a bit of tantric philosophy and like this energy of your sexual energy being everything that you create from, I knew that the source of my money, the depth with my partner, that all of it was connected to my sexual energy. All of it was connected to my sexual energy. I just needed somebody to guide me and show me how to transmute this. So that sexual healing retreat, it was co-ed, men and women, and we also had serpents that we danced with in the mornings, and I went even though I was so scared. I mean, the investment scared me, the idea of being with other men in that experience scared the shit out of me. Just, oh my God, it was so intense, but it was the best thing ever. I just remember feeling so curious and so refreshed that there was a space like this that I could really actually embrace this raw nature. Like I didn't have any makeup on, I wore cozy clothes, and I just allowed myself to learn how to take up space and feel the sensual energy. Something that really triggered me though was there was this woman and she was already doing this work for much longer than I have. I was a total newbie, but she was so open in her sexuality that when we were doing these self-pleasure exercises, she was just like exploding. And I'm over here like, I'm like, fuck, I need my vibrator. Like, I can't feel anything. Like, I was just so disassociated. I was so disassociated. And this woman was a mirror of what is possible for me, but I also it felt so far away from me, and I just felt sad and a lot of shame and almost feeling like I was broken, like I wasn't going to ever get to that space because I felt so numb. I felt so fucking numb. And I also knew that this was what I needed to move through. It was already a big deal for me to actually go to a retreat like that. So I thought, okay, like what would this look like if I walked this path, 1 year later, 3, 5, 10 years later, maybe I can get to that place where I can feel pleasure in that way. Like I wanted it so bad, not just because of some superficial surface level, like orgasm thing, but really because I knew that that would represent me unlocking my fullest potential. And yeah, I recognized what I was intimidated by Amrita at the time. I was intimidated by my Amrita. It was this part of me that was stuffed so far down, so much repression and suppression and shame and guilt and fear and anger, and a lot of fucking anger, locked away, that I wanted so badly for me to be taking up space in my body, inhabiting my body in that powerful way, that she was just such a beautiful mirror to me. So I truly believe anything that we feel, this like fear, anxiety that brings up our conditioning, that challenges us on the nature of taboo or darkness or evil or whatever the fuck, it is the biggest opportunity to lean in, because my God, the void that we avoid, I say this so much because it is really why I do everything in my power to embody this path. So that was my first sexual healing experience, okay? And actually, we did a self-pleasure ritual where all of us were laying on these mattresses and we were in this circle. Before we started, we had this altar in the middle with like crystal dicks and yonis and all this kind of stuff. Yoni being a pussy, for anyone who's listening to this and doesn't know this, the Sanskrit word for pussy is yoni, and for cock it's lingam. So anyway, we had this altar in the center, and we went to this candle in the center one by one and stated what we were calling into our life. Because the intention at the end of this retreat to do this self-pleasure ritual was to actually rise this energy within our bodies together, individually, but then actually together to amplify the energy and to release it into the universe together. On our own. It was like a self-pleasure ritual. And I just remember going up to this candle and being like, I'm calling in big money, was all I remember saying. And we ended up going on these mattresses that had, you know, heads facing the inside of the circle. So we were just really in our own zone, no looking at anyone or anything like this. And yeah, we did this powerful ritual where we visualized and we released it and really just allowed ourselves to go as deep as we could. And I found my online business with high ticket affiliate marketing 2 weeks later that fucking completely changed my life. That allowed me to make 2 times in 1 month that I used to make in an entire freaking year back when I was hustling like that. So that to me was like massive and symbolic looking back. However, it didn't stop there, of course, because yeah, being with my partner, actually, there was a point where I just knew that I still needed to access this bigger part of my vulnerability and my heart opening, because I was still, there was just so many layers. And I don't believe in the words like, oh, you are healed from, you know, XYZ, sexual trauma or body positivity. Like, I still work through body dysmorphia, and I had a 16-year eating disorder, you know, like there's a lot to work through. Same thing with sexuality, same thing with, is generational, you know? So I kind of like put that sexual healing to the side for a little bit, and I wanted to explore this with my partner, but I don't really feel that both him and I were ready at the time. We were really trying, but it just wasn't lining up and wasn't matching. We did dive into some things together, but what this really reflected to me was my ability to open and receive. And I recognized, like, the big story that I had with that last relationship was, oh, I wasn't seen for who I really am. And really looking back, you could project all you want, right, on the other person, but I really believe that as within, so without, we create our reality. Every relationship is a mirror. And now that I have had the time to process and been fully vulnerable and honest with myself, it's like I wasn't really allowing myself to really see myself. I wasn't allowing myself to go that deep. I saw a peak of what was possible meeting these women at the sexual healing retreat, etc. And as much as I was trying to explore these things with my partner, it was like there was something in me that really needed to go and dive into it myself. And it really has to do with creating that security and vulnerability with myself. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, so I can really allow myself to share my truth and be seen. And we had this experience actually with this woman who, I'm speaking about my ex-partner and I, we actually hired her to stay for a few days. Actually, they're actually dating now, which I think is very cute. Bless their hearts. If they ever listen to this, I'm sending y'all so much love. But we hired her to come stay with us for, I think it was 3 days or something, 3 nights, I can't remember. But she really guided us through tantric practices of allowing us to really sit with each other and be open and vulnerable with each other and seeing each other. And it was really beautiful. She even taught us how to give each other Yoni and lingam massages. Yes, she was massaging my pussy and showing him how to do it, and also to him with me. I know, it was wild. And guess what? I even had a snake at that time. Her name was Lakshmi, and she was with me in this process because I knew she was really anchoring this frequency of transformation. Funny story, she also has my snake. Anyway, how beautiful is all the symbology, right? And that was another really beautiful breakthrough that I got to have. I'm so grateful for that. We ended up taking a couple other courses. We worked with Kim Anami. I love her last name, Anami. It basically means everything is possible. And she brings in these Taoist and tantric philosophy that I just absolutely love. I highly recommend her work. She's got a podcast, she's got courses, all kinds of things. I took her Well Fucked Woman's course, and I took her Coming Together for Couples course with my ex. And that really allowed us to dive into these deeper practices. But again, there was just something that, I had gone from serial monogamous relationships. I really think I was just at this point that I needed to step back from relating. And if I really wanted this depth, I needed to figure out how to get that with myself first. And I just wasn't doing that when me and my ex were just in each other's hair all the time and swimming upstream, trying to make it work when I really needed to find this within myself. I had attracted him at a time where before I was even an entrepreneur, I was trimming weed as a fresh college dropout and living in a van trying to figure out how to transition to be an artist. And yeah, I just needed to step away to do that. And what I find really fucking fascinating with all this was immediately when I left that relationship and finally got the courage to be on my own, everything fucking changed. I started blowing up in my business. I started making a lot of money because actually one of the things that came up for me around all of this stepping into our power and sexual healing and healing relationship with money, I had my first $25,000 month with my high ticket affiliate marketing business. And the biggest thing that came up for me was, is he going to rise with me? And I just wasn't feeling that in our practices that we were doing with this depth. I was like, no, I don't. Our time has passed. And so when I really let that go and allowed myself to have the courage to do that, my business started flourishing and I focused on that. And what I was soon met with was I needed to find balance of being that powerful, independent woman who makes a lot of fucking money and has a lot of fun doing whatever it is she desires in her life, but how to really integrate still being in my feminine and really receiving devotion love, provision, and protection from the masculine. And it ultimately came down to figuring that out within myself and how I'm being and how I'm doing and how I'm receiving. So I find it fascinating that I had my biggest year ever, the year after I had separated from my partner, and I went on all these global trips, and you know, it kind of came back full circle of like, I do really want a partner, but this time I want to do it with this profound depth, but I just knew that I wasn't ready until I could really anchor this in myself. So I thought, well, fuck, like I need to really dive into this shadow aspect. And what I thought was really interesting was the following year, I made a lot less in my business because there was a big, I believe this is why anyway, is there was a big recalibration in my identity. Who is the woman, the version of Saber who is a highly successful entrepreneur and a highly sensual, erotic, feminine nature? There's a lot of deconditioning in that, right? It's like, can you actually be successful and be in your feminine and give yourself self-pleasure and be in ceremony and rest? And so I feel like I'm finally integrating all these pieces now, and I have met someone. I'm not going to go too deep into it because, you know, I'm going to just trust and surrender to the universe of what happens, but I feel that he is such a beautiful mirror of this full circle embodiment of what I've been creating. And ironically, I got into receiving Yoni massages from practitioners last year when I came to Paris. So actually, this is a really great segue to just tell you what has happened for me since moving to Paris, with knowing that Paris is the city of love, right? To me, it expresses sensuality. She's very deeply feminine. She's quite opulent. She's extravagant. She's fucking extra as all hell. She is just covered in beauty. And there's this erotic pulse that when I came here just before my 29th birthday, on my birthday, my 29th birthday, first one in Paris, I deemed it my era of my eros. And you know what I did? I booked a Yoni massage from someone I found on Google, had good reviews and everything. So I was like, okay, all right. And I went to my first Libertine club experience called La Chandelle. Very fancy and famous, actually, Libertine club here in Paris. And my intention with this was to really just embrace this raw, primordial, unapologetic nature of this Lilith, sexual, untamed, unleashed version of me, and really get in touch with that. Because since I had been single since 2022, I only had like, gosh, I think 2, 3 sexual experiences since then. And they were just so, I was like, I am ready to reclaim my desires, drop into my body, and fucking really actually embrace and experience pleasure. And so I dove into Yoni massages. And, you know, my first one, it really did crack me open. It was the perfect practitioner for me at the time. Now I actually work with someone that I'm going to be bringing on a podcast after we finish these series of 6 sessions that I'm doing just before Beltane. But I'm really excited for you to hear from him. That's coming. But my other practitioner that I had, you know, I specifically sought for a man because I knew it made me really fucking uncomfortable to think of that. But as I mentioned, what makes you uncomfortable, what scares the shit out of you, is exactly what you need to grow. And I felt safe with him. I was like, okay. I shared with him that I was nervous. I shared with him my intentions. And I allowed myself to just learn how to receive and drop the conditioning and drop the stories, drop the, is this okay? Drop the guilt, drop the shame. And I just did my damnedest to stay in my breath, out of my head, in my womb, in my pussy, breathe in and surrender and receive. And it was not fucking easy. It was not easy, but how you do anything is how you do everything. So for me, meeting myself at that massive edge is the biggest training grounds, because you are meeting your sexual energy and the dance with the masculine and feminine, and especially with a fucking stranger that you're like, is this safe? And truly, everything is safe if you actually have safety within yourself. Because I trusted him. I was like, of course, like, I'm safe, I've got this. Like, there were solid reviews. I trust my intuition. Like, when I've got that, I know that I'm safe, so let go of the rest. Let go of the rest. It's fucking okay. Yes, in the past, I trusted people that I, quote unquote, shouldn't have trusted, quote unquote. I mean, really, I shouldn't have trusted. But you know what? I was 14 years old. You know, even from that, I learned from that experience. And it does not mean that I need to close my heart off and my pussy off and my body off for the rest of my life. You know, like, this was about reclamation. This was about me just going in, and even the Libertine Club experience that I had. I didn't actually participate in Libertine clubs until, oh gosh, I think I went to like 5 of them until 5 times until I finally did something. If you don't know what a Libertine club is, basically it's something that's, that particular name, it started in France actually. The name is Libertine, right? It's like, it's a place where it's a sex club essentially, or swingers club, however you might call it. And the one La Chenda was very, very fancy. And you know what? I was fucking scared shitless. I'm like, I am crazy. I am by myself. I am a woman. I am in a foreign country. I don't even speak the language. And I'm going to this Libertine club. Like, what the fuck? Again, I was diving into the shadow. I was ready. I knew that there's something for me here. So I went in that Libertine club. Whew. And you know what? The clergy or the front desk guy, he was so nice. He was very welcoming. He's like, you know what kind of club this is, right? And I told him it was my first time. He told me about the etiquette, told me, you know, if there's anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, like, you let us know. There's like a 0 tolerance policy of like, you know, you just let us know. He's like, it's a woman's world here. Whatever you say goes, and anything that you're not okay with, like, just, yeah, you just state it. And I'm like, wow, what an amazing place to practice boundaries, resilience, your yeses and your nos, right? Like, immediately I felt that there, because the place was gorgeous. I loved that they didn't let me take my phone down there, right? Because it's like privacy, but also like, yes, finally a place where it's like, drinking too much isn't condoned, because they don't how do you say, promote this in these spaces, right? Like, I felt safer there than a regular fucking bar. You know? I was like, this is so fascinating. And like, yeah, some guys were coming up to me, talking to me, and asking me if it was my first time, and letting me know that they would, you know, look after me if I needed anything. And yeah, I was being quite standoffish, because I was like, I actually didn't really want to do anything yet. I just wanted to go and observe. But like, that refreshing experience of just being in this sex positive energy where it's so fucking normalized. I was even speaking to the bartenders, and I was like, man, like, it is just so normalized for you that it's like, it's not taboo. It's not. And I met people that were monogamous there. I met people who were, you know, they would go there and they want to be just with their partner. I met people who have been married for many years, who have kids. I met people who have multiple partners. So many different types of people go to these clubs that I thought, and I was asking like why they go to these clubs. And some of them were saying like, just that feeling like you're not able to really fully be yourself in mainstream society, and Libertine clubs is a place where anything goes. You can be free, you can fully actually be yourself. And I just thought, wow. Wow. To me, that's what it means to be free. To me, that truly is what it means to be free. And I really value freedom at its core. And, you know, on my journey of being a digital nomad, creating financial freedom, location freedom, time freedom, I also really truly believe in sexual freedom. And I believe if you are still suppressing yourself in your desires in any way, shape, or form when it comes to the money that you want to make, what you desire in your life as far as material or career or whatever it is, and your sexual desires, you're not actually free. So this was just such a beautiful opportunity for me to, it was my first month in Paris. I was like, okay, my era of my Eros is starting out pretty good. Like, here we go. Oh la la. So yeah, looking back, you know, I had definitely dipped into some shadow with these Libertine Club experiences because, you know, any experience is what you make it. It really truly is. If you can go to a Tantra or a Libertine Club experience and you can go and you can come from this place of empowerment where you are really committed to being present and in your body, you're honoring your yeses, you're honoring your nos, and you'll have an amazing time if you could really stay present in your body and in your power. And I've had those experiences, and it was really beautiful and very fulfilling from the inside out. And I've had experiences where I felt fucking lonely. I was in my wounding. I was having trauma come up. I was sabotaging, and I would go there for validation or connection or whatever this is. And oh my God, I've had bad experiences in that way. So, you know, on this point, at the time of this recording anyway, I am on a path of going back a little bit to the Tantra ways, but I love that I got to swing from Tantra as this gentle, soft opening and vulnerability to exploring the dark aspect of the like untamed Libertine Club experiences. And I'm not saying that I'd never go to a Libertine Club again. However, it's that balance of light and dark with our sexual raw nature. And, you know, looking forward, I really would love to, what my intentions are right now is to finish these sessions with my masseuse. I'm going to interview him on the podcast and really share some of the things that he's been witnessing unraveling in me, and just share how my experience was with him, etc. And what I really desire is to actually embody this myself in my own practice and with my connection with my lover, my current lover that I have, that, you know, if for some reason it doesn't work out, it will be a different lover, or myself as the lover. And I really believe that this integration of the light and dark, the yin and yang, the masculine and feminine, those serpents, baby, that I was dreaming about once upon a time, they're finally coming into this union that I really see a future where I can actually be fully in my body and really honestly initiate any man that comes into my space. If they're really ready to drop into the energy that I'm here embodying, like, they're going to be initiated into their masculinity. I'm going to be initiated into my femininity. What I mean by that is that it's connecting me to a power that I know that I don't need to fucking worry anymore. I don't need to control the outcome of a relationship or my business or my goals or whatever. Like, I just know that when I stay in this creative, powerful, self-love, actualization and path, that it is the only actually goal in life is to liberate myself in all aspects of who I am. Location, time, financially, and sexually free. So let's see, what else is there that I wanted to share? You know, there's a whole bunch I could share about sexual healing, but all I desire to share with you is if you have any questions about this journey, please feel free to send me a message at The Rich Witch Prophet on Instagram. I would love to hear if anything resonated with you in this episode. And thank you for listening. It's it's not easy for me to share this. There's a lot of things that I wanted to share that I otherwise would be here for hours and hours. But you know, I really desire for every woman to just know that if you feel called to go more the tantric route, go more the libertine route, go more the, you know, solo journey or with a partner or in groups or whatever, it's like, I just really desire people to know that there's no right or wrong way. And even if it feels taboo or shadow or whatever, like, that's just conditioning. And if you have a desire to explore something, let yourself explore it. Because if you have that confliction of fear and desire at the same time, like, there is so much healing that is on the other side of that for you. Like, that is where the true alchemy is. And it has just changed my life in ways that I never would have even guessed or assumed. And I just keep allowing myself to be curious and being the student of our potential and our capabilities of women and humans in general, because truly sexual energy is the most powerful energy in the entire world. It's what's used to create babies. And if you're not creating babies constantly, it's like learning how to really interact with that and utilize that for what you're creating in your life. Everything will change. You will become so fucking magnetic. And I love that I reflect back on how intimidated I was by women in their raw sexual power, because now I know that I do that with people. Every time I go out and dance, I have this feeling underneath that I feel like people are thinking I'm doing ill will or that I'm like a bad witch or something. But I just know that it's because of conditioning and fear. So I just keep reminding myself, I'm like, oh baby, remember the woman I was afraid of and what that activated in me? So I just know actually me fully embodying that, even though I can feel that people are afraid in some ways. And it's like, that's okay. Me still fully showing up raw, unapologetic, and unleashed is actually the medicine that everybody needs, even if they don't even realize it right now. So I personally believe that when we really step into this, we turn into this walking fucking magician that does some really powerful work on this earth. That is, in my opinion, the most important work that is out there, is really truly liberating ourselves from the inside out. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful time. And oh, I'm not even going to edit this one. There it is. I'll see you next time. Okay. I trust that this message landed for you, Empress, Queen, Goddess, Witch, at the right time, in the right place, and in the right way. Again, make sure you leave a review, 5 stars, if it feels resonant for you. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you what resonated with you in this episode over on Instagram at The Rich Witch Prophet. You can check out the free masterclass, Liquid Legacy, to learn how women all around the globe are getting paid to be in their unique, authentic magnetism in collaboration with water witches around the world. I'll see you soon.